This episode is brought to you by The Quintessentials, empowering women with the 9 tools to accomplish anything. For information on upcoming workshops in Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco, go to thequintessentials.com.
By the time I was about 45, it dawned on me, oh my gosh, I am not going to be a mother. What? I am not going to be a mom in this lifetime. And it was really kind of devastating. And I was grieving in some ways that I didn't even realize. And I thought, this is a social issue. It's a women's issue. It's a clinical issue. So I started wanting to make a platform called Childless Mothers Connect. The concept is that, there's a mother archetype in every woman. And so I wanted to create a sense of community around that because I felt like that was missing. I felt like women were like sort of suffering in silence and grieving in silence, and nobody was really talking about it.
Hello and welcome to Sound Mind and Body, a podcast where we interview inspiring people about the many different ways to stay healthy, balanced, and well of mind, body, and spirit in today's crazy world with a dash of woo-woo. I'm your host, Sheila Melody, a certified health and wellness coach, owner of a strength training studio in Los Angeles, and a lifelong seeker of what it takes to live your best life. I'm very excited for you all to meet my guest today, Dr. Marcy Cole. Dr. Cole is a holistic psychotherapist, author, speaker, community mobilizer, and humanitarian visionary. For over 20 years, Dr. Cole has been working with countless individuals interested in improving the quality of their lives, in addition to being the best-selling co-author of Living Proof, Celebrating the Gifts That Came Wrapped in Sandpaper, and Get Your Woman On, Embracing Beauty, Grace, and the Power of Women. Dr. Cole is also a blog contributor for the Huffington Post, Thrive Global, and Goop. She speaks on a variety of topics and has been featured as an expert on TV shows, including Dr. Drew's LifeChangers, Millionaire Matchmaker, Braxton Family Values, and Issues with Jane Valez-Mitchell. In 2004, Dr. Cole founded First Tuesday LA, a women's group dedicated to creating a sense of community through social connectivity, professional networking, and social service. She is a powerful force of change and healing, and I'm so honored to have her on the podcast. Welcome, Dr. Cole.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. I remember I was interviewed on the radio in Chicago many years ago, and you never know who's on the other side, right? Who's listening? And then one of my clients, my favorite clients of all time, I've worked with for years, actually was in her car listening, and that's how we met. So,
that
the world
so
works in mysterious ways. Yeah.
Well, you've accomplished so much in your life. So how did you get your start in this career,
Well, actually, it's so interesting because I was always natural. It was always a natural kind of interest or sort of natural born gift, I guess you would say. A couple of things, either selling something. I was selling stuff when I was a little girl like crazy, or helping people, right? And so my career in my 20s was actually selling television media time in the top 10 markets, a television rep firm in Chicago. And it was an incredible career. I had a great time. It was the media heyday and making ridiculous money in those days. And then, as fate would have it, I had a roommate who, when I first met her, I said, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I'm getting a master's in social work." And I said, "What's that?" I had no idea. And those moments in life where you hear something and it's like an immediate knowing. It's an instant knowing that that's part of your destiny. And so I thought you had to go back for a PhD to go into, the last thing on my mind at that time was more school. So, but the fact that you could go for 2 years and get into the mental health field was really alluring. So my manager allowed me to take classes on the side. I did that. I think they thought I would never really quit. I think they thought it was like a passing fancy.
Right.
But I was really, I was interested in, curious about why we are the way we are, and really interested in making contribution. And I wasn't going to do it in that way in television. And I knew that. I knew it would, and so I never looked back. I ended up, having to resign and going to my internship and making zero money almost, but never looking back. Oh yeah, my family thought I had lost my mind, seriously. But and so that's how it all began. I will share this piece with you because we'll probably come full circle in this conversation. I originally was interested in working with children, but I sent my resumes out, and there was a community mental health clinic in Chicago. And they said, sorry, we don't have any room in the child and adolescent program, but we have room with what we call the GAP program, the general aftercare program, for what they would call, quote, the chronically mentally ill. And so I ended up working for 5 years in that particular department, which was an incredible start because it really gave me a sense of the arc of mental health and functioning. So that was the beginning.
Wow. Yeah. So did you just go to school and live in Chicago? Because I grew up in Aurora, Illinois. I just wanted to say.
Yes. No, I went to Northwestern, and you're a Midwest girl. I grew up in Florida, and then I went to Northwestern for college, and then I worked in my 20s in television, and then I went to Loyola for my master's, and ultimately I went back for a PhD later, at a freestanding accredited university called the Institute for Clinical Social Work. So I was in Chicago for over 20 years.
Wow.
Love that city.
It is. It's great. I agree. So, what exactly, so you're a holistic psychotherapist. So what exactly, is a holistic psychotherapist as opposed to just a regular psychotherapist? And, how does it differ?
Yeah. So I always tell the story how I received an email once a couple of years ago saying, "Oh, hello, I found you on the internet. I wanted to know where you got your degree in holistic psychotherapy." And I said, "I didn't. I made it up. I didn't I got my degree. My degree is traditional, clinical social work." And so, the truth is that I was always interested in a holistic model, but I didn't know that was what it was really. So I went through the motions. I got the traditional degree. I worked on a dissertation. First, I wanted to do a dissertation on spirituality and the intercorrelation between spirituality and mental health. And they looked at me like I had 5 heads. So I wasn't going to get traction there. So I decided to go another route, which was actually, I will say, very noteworthy in terms of the arc of my career. It was the dissertation at the time. I'll get back to your original question, I promise. But it was on the experience of never married women between the ages of 29 and 39 that desire marriage and children. Oh, and that was incredibly prolific at the time and now, of course. And anyway, going back to this, as I left school and I had my own private practice, and that grew, and I sort of evolved and went from novice therapist to more seasoned, having that, that experience under my belt. And I learned to trust my instincts more. And I started creating my own template of what I really felt health and well-being was about, integrating, of course, some of the traditional modalities, in terms of the power of the unconscious, and in terms of the idea that, nothing happens in a vacuum. And of course, we have to go back in time and look at the arc of your life experience and connect the dots and create a narrative that makes sense. But there was these huge pieces missing, right? The traditional, usually orientations don't include the body. They don't include somatic things that are going on in the body. They don't include the spirit. So what I started to do was, and this is not original. I did not create this model of, what the holistic model is, but it's really integrating the 4 dimensions of our being in terms of working with someone, their physical health, mental health, emotional health, and spiritual health. So that means that when I'm personally working with a client, I'm listening for what's happening on the physical front. I'm listening for how they're feeling in their body, if they feel like they are in their body, or how connected or disconnected they are. I'm listening. I'm not an MD, but I am listening for somatic complaints and what's going on. I'm listening for their daily habits, their nutrition, their sleep quality, and their stress management strategies, if they have any, how they feel about their bodies, sexuality, sensuality. This is all part of the body's experience, of course. And then the mental health piece is all the cerebral, all the things that the mind, our beliefs, our perceptions, our assumptions, and how they inform our experience. And those that are rooted in absolute truth and those that are distorted, those that work for us, those that work that are not in service of our highest good, and really help people become more aware of that. And emotional health, it's the heart, is our access to the full spectrum of our feeling state, and just being connected to our heart no matter what, and being able to have access to those feelings. And of course, spiritual health is not about religiosity at all. It's about the extent to which someone is connected to or not connected to the divine, whatever the God of their understanding, whatever it is of their understanding, and how that impacts the quality of their life. So that's the holistic model from my perspective and experience. Yeah.
Well, that sounds really amazing. I mean, are you able to work with people remotely, or is it just people in person in the Los Angeles area?
So what I do is I work with people remotely, either on the phone or FaceTime. However, if they're out of state, I can't really call myself their psychotherapist. It's more coaching. It's more because I'm not licensed in that state, so they can get insurance benefits working with me as an out-of-network provider if they're in the state of California. But if they're out of the state, then it's out of pocket, and I can't. We have to change sort of the title or role. Yeah, shall we say? And so far everybody's been cool with that, but that's the way the law works on that front.
Okay. Well, yeah. That sounds very interesting. And
but thank God for cyberspace, because it gives all of us access to each other all over the world. It's incredible.
I know. I really, really love that is so many people are able to help each other across the internet, all over the world. As you said, I've talked to many different types of energy healers on this podcast, and many of them work remotely because energy doesn't have, boundaries. You know what I mean? And
that's right. It's not localized. That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, in addition to this very busy practice you have of working with people as a holistic psychotherapist, you also started in 2004, First Tuesday LA. So I really want to talk about that, because that's like an amazing, amazing group you started. What inspired you to start it, and what are some of the things you're most proud of accomplishing with this group? It's just connected to so many thought leaders throughout the whole world. How did you do this?
Yeah, I know. You know what? It's so funny, Sheila. I sit there and I go, I stand back and go, I had no idea that it would become what it would become today. It started, and this is often the way passion finds its way into our life. If we pay attention to where we're led, we just go there. And then there's so many other factors and facets that end up morphing the experience from there. And so it began in living rooms in Chicago. I had a private practice. This was not a professional thing. I just loved bringing women together. So I would just put out the word and say, hey, potluck, dinner, the first whatever of every month. There was somebody doing a breakfast thing, a friend of mine. Then she wasn't doing it anymore. I said, well, I'm going to make it an evening thing. There were only like 5 or 6, 7 women. And then I started creating an email list. That's when internet really was just starting, actually. And so in those days, as I started the list, if someone had something to share with one another, because I really started to appreciate the importance of community and the importance of resource sharing. And so I would be the one sending all the emails. Every woman send it to me, and I would send it out to the group.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. But that's for such a long time, that's what would happen. But we would get together once a month, and then I would have this email group that would grow and grow. And then I have a very dear friend who really wanted to start one in LA, and she kind of started it, but then she was having babies and she said, get here already. And so I came, and then again, living rooms. And then, frankly, I was influenced by this entrepreneurial community more here than I ever was in Chicago, who was doing all this who was talking about internet marketing and this, that, and the other. And they said, you really should think about making this, having a structure around this and creating an organization and monetizing it if you're putting this much time into it. Mm-hmm. And so I did. And I started having a little bit more formality and charging a little bit of money that I thought was very fair and within everyone's budget. And that's how it started. And at first I would feature, so the whole idea of First Tuesday, the mission statement of First Tuesday is that it's about creating community through social connectivity, making beautiful friends along the way, professional networking, particularly for those who are entrepreneurs, and social service, because I really believe in integrating philanthropy in everything that we can. So that's the mission of it. And then, so the live events were really about integrating networking and connectivity and meeting each other with featuring a guest or more than one guest to share an expertise and share content and give value to everyone present that night. And then we also had an online community membership where people could stay connected to each other, and they could be invited to become a blog author, and they could be invited to just online member exclusive events. And
oh my gosh.
So that's how it started.
You've been doing it for like 15 years right? It's like,
you know what? Yeah.
And
I actually realized it's more. Yeah. It's actually longer than that, Sheila. First Tuesday, we had an event this week, and I actually realized that I've been in LA for 14 years. So it's 14 years, but it was going on 5 years before that. So actually,
like 20 years.
Yeah, we're talking to a long time.
Successful thing. And I have been to, I unfortunately, because it's always on the west side and I'm way over here in the other part of the world here. So I see all the wonderful guests you have on your First Tuesdays events, like every month down in, is it like Marina Del Rey area here in LA?
Yeah, we have the smaller events, the 50 or 60 people that gather every month is in Marina Del Rey. That's right. In my building, there's a beautiful space there. And then we have the big events as well.
Right. And I went to the Epic Day. Was it called Epic Day?
Yes.
Last year. It was epic. It was so amazing. I mean, I was just like, I literally floated out of there, I have to say, because you had all these amazing speakers, which,
yes.
I was just blown away. It was a full day of positive, uplifting, I left there feeling like so good, especially after seeing Dr. Michael Beckwith, who is like one of my favorite people of all time.
Yes, I know. So special.
The energy in the room was like palpable. It was just I felt it. And I was just so I float, like I said, it lasted me months, the wonderfulness of that one epic day. So when are you having another one?
I know. Well, first of all, let me just say, I'm so glad you shared that because, I literally pour my heart and soul in planning that whole thing. And then I never really know where it lands for people. Everyone, I know that it's insane the day of, the excitement and as you say, it's palpable and the energy and everything, but I never know the impact afterwards. So I really love hearing that. So we had one in 2016. We had one in 2017, 2018. We had, the idea, 2000, by the way, just like First Tuesday started, it was also super organic. It was literally like October. And I thought, I want to do something to raise money for the nonprofit I had. And I thought, how can I do that? And then I thought, well, I've had these unbelievable, hugely impactful, high profile people speaking. Why don't I just reach out to a bunch of them and see if they would speak in one day? And they all said yes. The first year, if my memory serves me correctly, it was Marianne Williamson, Mary Morrissey, Coot Blackson, Thomas John, the medium, who's Seatbelt Psychic on Lifetime show now. And, who else? And Tom Shadyac. Oh my God. Tom.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
Right. And so that was and they all said yes. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm having a huge event one day. And then I went out and got space. And then, it was like 2 months of crazy playing, 2-3 months. So that's how it started. And then I thought, well, how can I not do this the next year? And then it was another, lineup of incredible
I love it.
Luminaries. And I wish I remember offhand. And then this past year, 2018, that you were at, Sheila, right? There was Michael Beckwith. There was Rebecca Rosen, who's also a medium who flew in. Dr. Sue Morter was 2017, I remember. And I'm going back in time now. 2017 was Dr. Sue Morter and Sean Korn. And
it was
Kyle Cease.
Oh, Kyle Cease. He's great. And then there was last year was the guy who authored the Chicken Soup for the Soul series.
Well, that's Jack Canfield.
Yeah, Jack Canfield was there. And is it Wayne DeMartini?
John DeMartini. Thank you very much. Yes, John. He's amazing. John DeMartini. That's right. Lisa Nichols.
Who rocked
the room.
Oh my gosh.
The room. Yeah, she woke everybody up quickly, didn't she?
She did.
Yeah. And then John Gray was the year before too. So all of these incredible humans. And then of course we integrate again ways to connect with each other in the room and philanthropy. So what am I getting? So basically I was kind of on a high, but also recovering from that event. And then I ended up having some really big, amazing things happen last year that took my attention. So I have not planned one for this year. Okay. I have in mind, which I'm not going to say out loud right now, but I have in mind what I am envisioning. But so there will be another Epic Day.
Okay.
It could be surprisingly at the end of this year instead of the beginning of the following year. Or it could just be in the beginning of the following year, and we'll skip a year. We'll see. But you'll be invited, and so will the rest of the world,
Yay.
The rest who's ever listening.
I'm going to be there. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to talk about something that you're very, very excited about this year.
Yes. Wonderful. Let's do it.
As you all know, I'm a big advocate of finding your woo-woo, which I consider to be that magical, intangible energy that makes you feel strong and inspired to live your best life. But there is one very tangible way that I have found makes me feel strong and inspired, and that's strength training. And specifically, the slow motion, high intensity strength training method that I have been practicing for almost 15 years. And yes, this is a plug for my strength training studio, which we recently rebranded to be The Strength Code. I was introduced to this method about 15 years ago by an ex-boyfriend. Turns out ex-boyfriends are good for something. It's the only method that I have been able to sustain over the years, and I plan to continue doing this for as long as I can because this system works. It's not some crazy boot camp that will render your arms useless and you can't walk downstairs without wincing. Our unique method is straightforward, safe, very effective, and backed by science. Our secret? Lift weights very slowly in perfect form. With this method, most people only need one workout per week to stimulate their muscles to get stronger. And it's in a cool private studio with no sweaty people trying to hit on you, no waiting for the exercise machines. More muscle means toning. More muscle makes all those other things you want to do easier and safer. More muscle means raising your metabolism. It means more energy. Simply put, taking care of our muscle is the most important thing you can do for your body, especially if you're over 30. At the Strength Code, we believe that your workout should be as unique as your body. We customize your workout to be perfect for you. And we have a great intro offer for only $49, which includes a consultation and 2 workouts. The perfect way to experience this amazing method and see if it's right for you. Just go to our website, thestrengthcode.com, and purchase the intro offer, request an appointment, and you're good to go. We have 5 trainers, and all of them are great. And John, Joe, Wendy, and me, of course. Plus, if you say you heard it here on Sound, Mind, and Body, I will give you an extra session. So what are you waiting for? Your muscles need you. Getting stronger in your body will boost your mind and your spirit, making you an unstoppable creator. thestrengthcode.com. See you there.
Hey friends, this is Tim Edwards, producer of Sound, Mind, and Body. I'd like to invite you to check out one of the other popular podcasts we produce here with the Inbound Podcasting Network that I think you'll find very informative. It's the Vibrant Living Wellness Center podcast with functional medicine clinical nutritionist Heidi Hoffman. Vibrant Living Wellness Center is located right here in Southern California, and they provide a wide range of health and wellness services, including nutrition coaching and meal planning, Reiki energy healing, and my favorite, the seasonal 28-day detox cleanse. Why is it my favorite? Because it works. I participated in the detox cleanse back in January, and I lost a total of 9 pounds in just 28 days. But most importantly, it kickstarted me into developing healthier eating habits. And since then, I've lost a total of 16 pounds and am now only about 7 pounds away from my target weight. So guess what? I'm doing it again, starting at the end of this month. And they offer these seasonal cleanses in the spring, fall, and after the new year. I'll include links in the show notes that'll provide you with much more information than I have time to tell you about right now. So join me on this journey to feeling great, enjoying better sleep, and getting our bodies summer ready with the seasonal 28-day detox cleanse with Vibrant Living Wellness Center.
On the next episode of Sound, Mind, and Body, I speak to certified hypnotherapist Britt Shefflin, who makes shift happen. That's right, I said shift.
Just entering the state of hypnosis is something that should be familiar to everyone. We are all in it multiple times a day, generally the first 30 minutes after waking, 30 minutes before falling asleep. Anytime you've ever been driving down the road and you miss your exit and you're like, where was I for the last 20 minutes? Essentially, it's a meditative state where you're dropping down from a beta conscious thinking state down into an alpha theta. The therapy part comes in when you actually start using therapeutic and behavioral change techniques along with that state in order to learn how to modify whatever you're trying to change. Losing fear, helping with pain, helping with healing processes.
Weight loss,
right? Absolutely. Quitting smoking, any of those things.
That's next on Sound, Mind, and Body. Okay, we are back and we're talking to Dr. Marcy Cole. And before the break, we said we were going to talk about something you're super, super excited about. But before that, let's talk a little bit about another organization that you created called See Mama. And also Childless Mothers Connect. Were those two separate organizations?
So yes. So Gandhi said, my life is my message, right? So much of our callings come from our own circumstances and life experience. Mm-hmm. And sometimes those experiences are just blessings that fall from the heavens. And sometimes they're hardships, that we go through. And we get to the other side and then we want to share what we, have experienced with others that might be experiencing the same thing. And so in this case, I was, in the generation where that started, women were, school educated, career oriented, divorce rates were, 50%. And I sort of checked off all those boxes. I spent years and years in school and years in a career and got married and got divorced and found myself single in my 30s, was taking my time with it. And then by the time I married again at 40, I just had this kind of illusion of grandeur that I would have a child when I loved somebody and the time was right. And the doctors confirmed that everything's good. You're good to go. That wasn't what happened. And so, we went through fertility and by the time I was about 45, it dawned on me, oh my gosh, I am not going to be a mother. What? I am not going to be a mom in this lifetime. And it was really kind of devastating. And I was grieving in some ways that I didn't even realize I was grieving. I sure I'd have, a few sort of soulful cries about it. And then I was keeping myself super busy, almost like in an avoidant way. And then I realized, wow, I looked around me and I thought a lot of women in the First Tuesday community are also single and never had children. Or it's not even about single, but never had children by choice or circumstance. And I thought about my clients through the years. And I thought, this is a social issue. It's a women's issue. It's a clinical issue. It's bringing a lot of people into therapy saying, oh my God, I'm, either like my dissertation was 10 years before, which I found myself part of that cohort, right? And it was so interesting how that my life took me to the other side, not having children. So I started wanting to make a platform called Childless Mothers Connect. The concept is that it doesn't mean we're childless, like there's no children in the world that we love, but it's just a word to describe the fact that we didn't either bear or adopt children as of yet. And the idea of childless mothers, that's the concept that, there's the mother archetype in every woman. And so I wanted to create a sense of community around that because I felt like that was missing. I felt like women were like sort of suffering in silence and grieving in silence, and nobody was really talking about it. Mm-hmm. So I created that site. And at the same time, I thought, well, I started doing research. In those days, this was 8 years ago, I started doing research on this. There was reported 153 million orphans in the world, and 18 million of which were double orphans. And I thought, gosh, you have all these children around the world that just need love and want to be loved and supported. And you have a lot of people without children with a sort of a void in their heart. And so why not,
connect them somehow.
Why not bring that together? So the nonprofit was formed called Childless Mothers Adopt. Now, at first it was a literal concept of adoption, but then it became a broader, because not everybody's called to adopt. So it was more, the mission became promoting the connection between people without children and children in need. Of course, we went through the female the female marketing piece, but it didn't exclude men or couples, of course. So, So because sometimes people want to connect with kids, they can connect, they can adopt, they can foster care, they can host, they can sponsor, they can mentor. There's a lot of ways to connect with children in need. So that's how that platform was created. And then we had, really simply, we had 3 different programs in Simama. We had a gifting granting program where we would give financial support to single women, men, and couples adopting older children or special needs children. Those are often the children that are ignored or don't end up, they on the list of lots of people waiting at the doorstep for, and yet these are beautiful children who need and deserve love. And we have the post-adoption transitional health program. So once people became parents, they had some educational support. And then we had what we called the Simama journeys, where we ended up going to Peru on these 2 journeys that were just epically beautiful, connecting with this group home for orphan and abandoned children in the Sacred Valley called Niños del Sol, which stands for Children of the Sun. And we were there to connect with these kids. And we formed just a beautiful relationship with them and tried to give them as much support as possible. So those were the programs.
Wow.
And then Sheila, you were there at Epic Day when you witnessed this year. Yes, right?
When
it was time for me to step off the, executive director role. That's not really what I ever really wanted to do anyway, but that's what happens. You have a vision and then you become, all the administrative stuff ends up on your lap. And so I look to KidSave. KidSave.org is a magnificent organization. They've been around, I think, for 25 years. They not only deal internationally with children, but they deal locally. And I would have been way more involved with them had I not launched my own nonprofit. And they ended up adopting the grant program and the post-adoption transitional health program. And that did my heart. So, that made me feel like, okay, I'm not abandoning ship, and there's going to be a legacy that continues here. So every experience is never for naught. And however long you're doing something of service is beautiful and is of service and counts. So most nonprofits don't really last for decades. Let's face it. Most, unless the big ones. And so we just have to really acknowledge that whatever we're doing, whether it's helping someone across the street or volunteering or creating these nonprofits that are alive as long as they're meant to be, it's all good. It's all good.
It's amazing. And so let's talk about now what you're very, very excited about, what you call your part-time gig.
Yes.
So tell us what you're doing.
Well, I have a part-time private practice by design. I never was interested in a full-time practice. Sometimes that meant people are on a wait list, but that's the way I needed to do it. So for a long time, my hands were in 3 pots: private practice, first Tuesday producing these life enrichment events for First Tuesday and See Mama. Once See Mama was adopted, I had thought that I was going to use that time to just chill out for a little bit and then start writing the book that I want to write. But the universe sometimes has something different in store for us. And sometimes, we have inspired thoughts or desires. And sometimes, the stars are not aligned yet, but there is a larger matrix and a larger plan. And we aren't as conscious of that. So remember when I shared that when I went into clinical social work, I was interested in working with children. Mm-hmm. That was the beginning kind of seed of my heart of what I was feeling drawn to. I would also fantasize through the years and have these conversations with people of like, wouldn't it be great if, from kindergarten throughout your entire schooling, there was like Life 1A in school besides your math and science and English, right? And just talk about life. And can you imagine how nourishing that would be for children? It would change the consciousness of every school, of every neighborhood, city, state, country. Well, meanwhile, as you know, it was off my radar completely, but it basically landed in my lap where somebody someone very dear to me, Dr. Robin Berman, called and said she had her school she had her children going to an independent school K through 6 called the John Thomas Dye School in Bel Air, California. Mm-hmm. And she said, Marcy, they're looking for a school psychologist. Do you know anyone just like you? And I said, well, no, not off the top of my head, but I'll think about it. But then her husband stopped her and said, wait a second. What about Marcy and this potential position? So anyway, I went and interviewed just because I was curious, and I wasn't the right person for the psychologist position because that's more academic testing and more on the academic side. Right. But it just so happened that the school counselor was on maternity leave in the fall of 2018. Mm-hmm. So they said, well, would you be willing to come for a couple of days a week and fill in for her? And I thought, oh my God, absolutely. That would be so much fun. I have no idea. And by the way, Sheila and everyone, I also believe in the power of prayer and intention. Mm-hmm. And what I had been focusing on for many months was after I, created space with the See Mom and made sure See Mom was taken care of. My prayer was, use me as a vessel for good with grace and ease, please. And it was, and if my life is unrecognizable in a year from now, that's okay too. I was ready for something new. Wow. Okay. Really new. But I had no idea what that would be, but I just put it out there. Uh-huh. Note to the wise. Just put it out there. You don't have to know how, when, what. You don't have to know those things. And so sure enough, I am here last fall, and I basically had to kind of make it up as I went. And so I just took myself in every classroom and started teaching. Oh, they also said to me, we're interested in social emotional learning and mindfulness. And I'm like, well, that's my jam. Okay. That's exciting. Yeah. So sure, I was here if a child needed, extra attention or support, but most of my time was I just made it up. And so I went into these classrooms and I was doing classrooms on empathy and self-esteem and all this kind of fun stuff. Wonderful. And I would just go by the seat of my pants. And there became sort of a love connection. And then the counselor came back and I was interested in moving forward, and so were they. And so they created a new position for me and the position is the Social Emotional Learning Program Facilitator. So I'm continue to go into the classrooms. We're also creating curriculum from K through 12 that will be consistent and offering faculty support and parent education. And let me be really clear for people who aren't super clear about what SEL was, because I wasn't. I did not, 6 months ago, I was not aware. SEL, Social Emotional Learning, is the biggest buzz right now in education. It's integrating, besides your math, science, all the, English, all of the courses that kids are taught, it's integrating social emotional learning. So we're talking about self-esteem, we're talking about communication, conflict resolution, problem solving, stress management. So we know the studies are showing that social emotional learning and mindfulness training in schools are increasing children's awareness of self. They are helping them manage stress because there's anxiety levels for children right now across the country are off the charts. It's crazy. But it's helping them manage that. It's also helping them with interpersonal communication. And in doing so, they're able to focus more in school so that their learning experience is more positive, and therefore academic achievement is more probable. So that's what social emotional learning is doing in the schools across America. One by one, little by little, that's the direction we're going in, which is very exciting. I absolutely
love it. It's very exciting. And it's something that I think, I hope we see more and more of in the near future. So let's talk about you a little bit, and let's ask you the questions that I ask all my guests. So how do you stay of sound mind and body in your personal day-to-day life with all this going on?
I'll tell you what I don't do. People probably expect me to say, well, I'm doing an hour of meditation every day. I don't do that. But what I do, because I don't necessarily, it's wonderful when people do it and they can achieve deeper states of lots of wonderful things. But mindfulness is about being present and about being aware. So when I open my eyes in the morning, I literally just say hello to myself, say thank you. And I connect with my animals, and I just let myself be. I really do go into the vortex of gratitude, which is a very high vibrational connection to remembering how blessed we are. Mm-hmm. And I also envision my day. I send gold light to wherever I'm going to be, and I envision my day. And that's what I do in the morning. And the prayer, like I shared with you all before, is just to be a beneficial presence.
I love it.
Yes. And
That's
of course,
beautiful.
I don't want to forget the daily lifestyle things like, remembering during the day to pause and to rest. And sometimes I've learned to nap now for 20 minutes, which is amazing for your brain. I never could do that before. Yeah. And of course, eating well and nourishing our brain and hydrating and exercising when I can. And these things are not overrated. They're super important.
I agree. Sounds great. The vortex of gratitude. I like that. Okay, so what's a favorite sound?
Everyone's complaining about this rain. I love it.
I love it too.
Oh my gosh. Right? It's just cozy and wonderful, and the earth needed it so badly and is so happy. And I am very blessed to literally my bed overlooks water. And so I'm able, when the rainstorm, like last weekend, and it rains and I hear it, and we even heard thunder. Did you hear the thunder the other night?
Yeah, I saw lightning. It was amazing.
Lightning. I know, right? But we don't get that out here. I mean, woe is us. I'm just kidding. It's beautiful here and we're very blessed, but it's really fun, and it's really a treat when we have variations of weather. So I absolutely love the rain. I also, when I need to lighten up, I go to those YouTube videos of babies laughing hysterically, which is, I mean, seriously, there's no sound on the planet yeah.
That is so great. Okay, so favorite memory.
I have to say, my parents, they're in their 90s. My mom is going to be 93 in August. My father's going to be 96 next December. Wow. They've been married 73 years. My parents, I'm so divinely blessed with them. And I think my favorite memories are with them. I honestly, I mean, it's hard to say your favorite memories. There's so many, but my father, it lives to make people laugh. And then when I think about him from the time I was a little girl, just making me belly laugh, and to this day, he's hilarious. And my mom is she just oozes love and affection. And so I still go home. She calls me her baby. I get into bed with her and cuddle with her.
I mean, no wonder.
So I'm really, so I would say they are, that's top of mind. I mean, I've had obviously so many incredible memories in life, but I would say that's top of mind.
Oh, that is absolutely beautiful. I just love that. And it's kind of unusual, and no wonder you're such a wonderful person. It seems like it comes from them. So, okay. What's a favorite place?
Well, as I mentioned, my bed overlooking the water, honestly, I think that's it. It's, I when I had to leave, I used to live a block from the sand, and when the landlord was selling, and I thought, what could make me feel better that I don't want to leave my home? And literally what came to me was water from my bed. I'm like, well, how is that going to work? And it did. I mean, honestly, that's the same thing. You put it out there, and I'm in a high rise. I mean, it's really a low rise. And I would say my favorite place right now, I mean, sure, did I love Bali and Hawaii and Kauai? Yes, so much. But I wake up and I look at this view, and it just, I don't even know where I can go from here, because it's like being on top of the water, which to me is everything, because I'm a water girl.
That is beautiful. That's like,
Yes.
What else can you're seeing it every day and experiencing it every day. That's the best. Okay. Right. So final question. What's the most woo-woo thing you've ever done?
I had an extraordinary experience last year, Sheila, where I went on a 30-day spiritual pilgrimage around the world with 22 people in 30 days.
Wow.
We went to all the vortexes, where they call the vortexes of energy on the planet. Well, not all of them, but some of them. And Dawa Tarchin Phillips, who is the resident teacher at the Bodhi Path in Santa Monica. He's a Buddhist teacher and spiritual guide. He's a very special man. He led this, and it was called the Awakened Pilgrimage. And we went basically where these vortexes of energy were. He taught based on the chakra system, the energy system in the body. So he taught, he had a teaching at every place that we went. So we were in Africa, root chakra, Africa. We were in Egypt and India and Israel and China and Tibet.
Oh my
it was talk about epic. So I would say, and you know what? I at first I said, Dow, I can't go. That's just crazy. I like to land places, and he said, Marcy, we're going to land within ourselves wherever we are.
Wow.
So my intention was to practice presence, and that's what I did. There were 17 flights. We were in and out of hotels, but you know what? It was fine. I was so present with every day. It was very, very special. So I would say it was woo-woo wonderful. That's what it was.
Wonderful. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Marcy.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Sheila. I so appreciate it. And thank you for all that you're doing and sharing, bringing all these people into the vortex of what you're doing and sharing it with your audience. And it's beautiful. So thank you on behalf of all of us.
Well, that's it for this episode. And oh my gosh, isn't she inspiring? Dr. Marcy Cole. Go check out all the things she's doing. I've just been inspired to kind of try to follow my purpose, to be a little bit more in tune with that. And thank you so much for listening. And hey, have you subscribed yet? Well, why not? You can do that on our website under the subscribe tab. And while you're at it, you can join our woo-woo community too. Just enter your email on the homepage of our website, and you'll start to receive an email when there's a new episode, along with other news and announcements. And if you like us, give us a review on iTunes. We would so appreciate it. Thank you to our producer, Tim Edwards, and the Inbound Podcasting Network. And thank you to our guest, Dr. Marcy Cole. And I'd also like to shout out a special thank you to my cat, Dexter, who kind of made an appearance during there, if you might hear him meowing. That's my cat, Dexter. So thank you, Dexter. Get in touch. What's your woo-woo? Send us a voice memo or email to soundmindbodypodcast@gmail.com, or connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or the web. Search for Sound Mind Body Podcast. I'm Sheila Melody. Join us next week as we explore, enlighten, and evolve.